Good morning and welcome to Atlantic Television Network. The program is Atlantic Saturday, another amazing time for us to talk about trending issues in Nigeria and also have fun while on TV. Atn Saturday is a syndicated live program of the network that features conversations and in-depth analysis of trending political news, events and stories with stakeholders. Through these conversations, ATN uses political talks about specific issues, party system and actor to explore hope and engender positive impact to the society. Today we took a story from Edo State where reports have been 5 lifeless bodies found by family members. And then from Akwa Ibom State, lawmaker launches empowerment program for rural women. And then from Anambra State, floods displace 600 households in 5 local government areas. From Lagos State, woman bites off neighbor's tongue in a fight. From Ogun State, police arrest 7-man gang terrorizing travelers. And then we'll take a story from the FCT, where administration awards 9.8 billion naira airport rehabilitation. From judiciary, 76 #End Bad Governance protesters granted 10 million naira bail each. On security, police arrest 2 criminals with same name. We'll go on a short break, and after that I'll let you know who our guests in the studio are. My name is Enidoye Jackson. Please stay with us on ATN.
The people of Maiduguri need your help. A catastrophic flood has engulfed the city, leaving over 1 million residents stranded and fighting for survival. Entire communities are submerged, with people trapped inside homes and on rooftops cut off from food, clean drinking water and essential supplies. Health experts are warning of a potential outbreak of deadly diseases, and medical facilities are out of commission. The situation is dire. Helicopters, boats and high-riding trucks capable of navigating the treacherous, waterlogged areas are urgently required to reach the countless men, women and children still awaiting rescue. The Nigerian media is issuing a desperate plea to the government, humanitarian organizations, international actors and citizens across the nation. Step in now, before it's too late. For more information on how you can help, contact Professor Usman A. Tar, the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Internal Security, Borno State, on 0809-233-3955. Every second counts.
This is powered by Atlantic Television Network.
front lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains. Through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
The people of Maiduguri need your help. A catastrophic flood has engulfed the city, leaving over 1 million residents stranded and fighting for survival. Entire communities are submerged, with people trapped inside homes and on rooftops cut off from food, clean drinking water and essential supplies. Health experts are warning of a potential outbreak of deadly diseases, and medical facilities are out of commission. The situation is dire. Helicopters, boats and high-riding trucks capable of navigating the treacherous, waterlogged areas are urgently required to reach the countless men, women and children still awaiting rescue. The Nigerian media is issuing a desperate plea to the government, humanitarian organizations, international actors and citizens across the nation. Step in now, before it's too late. For more information on how you can help, contact Professor Usman A. Tar, the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Internal Security, Borno State, on 0809-233-3955. Every second counts.
This is powered by Atlantic Television Network.
appreciate you for staying right here with us on ATN. Quickly, I will let you know who my guests in the studio are. I have with me Chukwu Chukwu. He's a public affairs analyst. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Wendy. Good morning, Nigerians, Rivers people, and welcome you to Atn Saturday. And Wendy, we begin to imagine where Nigeria is going, because yesterday, as I was going to work, I stood by and watched the litany of vehicles, plying the Nigerian routes, and also see people, go for occasions, social activities, and I begin to wonder how are Nigerians surviving. I don't know how, and there is no fuel, there is no PMS, the country is hard, but you see Nigerians pushing, so...
But some people do not agree. From Edo State, actually, where 5 young lives were lost under mysterious circumstances. The victims, 4 boys and 1 girl, were found lifeless in a room by their family members who grew concerned when they didn't come out. 2 of the victims were brothers, while the others were friends. Notably, there were no signs of assault or visible injuries, leading a community source to suspect food poisoning. The incident had been reported to Jatu Police Division, and the Edo State Command spokesperson, Moses Yamo, confirmed that an investigation is ongoing to determine the cause of the death of these people. The community and family members are still in shock, seeking answers and closure. The police investigation will hopefully shed light on what happened. I can imagine how confused the family members would be, not knowing exactly what caused the death of these people, because they were locked in their rooms. They were actually in their rooms, in their room, right? Siblings and then friends, from the story as it has been explained. But I just want to know your immediate reaction to this, George.
It is very saddening and very unfortunate to see that someone want to take the lives of other people. From the reports, it suspected food poisoning, and I've seen a lot of writings and reports on social media about this same unfortunate incidents. Some people have even wrote that the sisterhood is proud of you, and so many things. It boils down to the fact that bitterness, untreated bitterness, will produce a lot of dangerous actions. When people are bitter, and people will offend you, people will hurt you, people will make you angry. When you look at the Russian physiologist Ivan Pavlov during his experiments with the dog, when he talked about classical conditioning, you see that bitterness conditions. She has been a victim, whatever she has been through, whatever experience she has had, is that enough to kill someone, to take the life of someone?
In Nigeria, so that's why I'm not going to base my analysis on a particular source of the cause of death. So it is holistic, because the government has decided not to nip things in the bud and get to the actual root and remote causes of those deaths. So we begin to live in the world of
investigations are on currently. Investigations are on this particular issue. Right, so we will definitely get to follow it up,
and I'm
to
saying
find out
that
the
those
result of the investigation.
have not seen the light of the day. Go to the Ministry of Health. Go to the let me give you an example that happened. I think 2 weeks ago or 3 in Rivers State. There was disturbing news around the warfare, as they call it, naval base ASICs. Disturbing news of, some sacks being stacked allegedly with human parts. And the government went there, and the story came out from the environmental health or whatever sector that is concerned about that, saying that those were remains of livestock. And you begin to imagine, even when they wanted to go on damage control or let there not be panic in the town. But when you look at it critically, because we had people on ground, and the government, after making that statement, the State Orientational Agency, the River State Minister of Health, and those concerned have not even come out to now educate the people. Look at what happened. They just made one statement, and that was all. And they allow people to believe that. So that is what I'm saying, that coming out to say it now, that people have died, we are suspecting this and that. Ms. Jackson, you will sit back and watch if you will see to the tail end of this.
Let's definitely see how the investigation goes. But let me hear from Emmanuel on what you think the government could do to reduce this menace.
Well, beyond the government, we have individual responsibility because you can't police the hearts of people. You can't secure the hearts of people.
So you feel the government doesn't have a role to play?
The government have a lot of responsibility.
Okay, let's start from
ensuring that we have, just our distinguished guest has said, there's proper monitoring of our food, water, ensuring safety standards, that what we eat is safe for consumption, and that cases of food poisoning is not swept under the carpet, and those who are involved in such heinous crimes are apprehended and punished to serve as a deterrent to others, and that we should not sit back and just feel bad when people die, but we should take action. Actions speak louder than words. Now, on the individual aspect, I would say that the human mind is very powerful. And the human mind is like a room. You can open it up for hurt and bitterness, and you can open it up for love. To err is human, but forgiveness is divine. It's a popular quote we always talk about many times. When someone takes such an evil action to kill and to poison others, you begin to ask yourself, what drives such bitterness, hate? What drives people to kill?
Sometimes, talking about what drives people, sometimes it's greed. Because when we look at some of the activities of these people in the market, people who sell some food items, and the things that they do in order to make more profit, you begin to ask questions like, does it mean that this woman or this man doing this thing is not aware of the effects? Because some of them are, but they continue. You want to buy fruit. These days, it's not so easy to get fruits anymore. Yes. Not because there are no fruits on the road. There are fruits on the roadside, in the market and everywhere. But you want to buy that banana, you're asking yourself,
yes. How
can I really get this? They ripen the banana, they ripen the plantain. The red oil is not, what it's supposed to be. So I know the government has a role to play, which you have broken down and you have explained. You both have. But that's why I didn't strike out the individual aspect. So when we talk about these individuals carrying out this crime, these, criminal activities, that's all I call it.
Yes.
How do you think that we can curb that part of it?
I've been poisoned before, food poisoning that you're talking about.
Maybe you should explain
yes,
the poisoning.
I almost lost my life.
Was it someone putting some substance in your food, or what you bought from the market?
I went to eat in a public eatery, and immediately I finished eating, and I was just heading to my house, and I discovered that I was slumping, and I was almost dying.
Gasping for breath.
Yes, struggling to survive. Since I was born, I've never experienced such before. It seems like my stomach was on fire and my intestines are rupturing. And then I was rushed, and then I got urgent, immediate medical attention. Yes. And that was what saved my life. And it took many hours for me to be resuscitated and revived, and for me to realize that I'm still living, because it was like I was dead. Now, I suspected that from the place I ate, the public eatery, possibly the oil that was added. Because now we're talking about the individual contribution to this food poisoning. A lot of criminality takes place in our country today.
In order to maximize gain.
Yes.
Just to maximize gain.
It beats,
to the detriment of others.
It beats my imagination how people could be so wicked. Now, the palm oil, people add chemicals to the palm oil to produce more palm oil. Now, when we talk about the decay in our society, the moral decadence and the failures of leadership and governance, look at the people's action. You cannot separate individuals from this corruption, right? So a lot of people are involved in it, and
yes.
it is fueled by greed.
You know, the other day we saw in the news where it was reported in one of the trusted papers that some people were using transformer oil. I know some people don't know that there's something like that, but people are using transformer oil to fry bean cake, what we call akara. So, Ugochukwu, how do you think we can reduce this greed amongst the people that makes them go for more profit at the detriment of the lives of other people?
That's the decay and the loss of value we have in Nigeria, the quest for self-aggrandizement, the quest for should be the only cook crowing in my area, and again the human mind that is insatiable. Even all those things they are doing, you find out that there are the people who look for more, because when you are not contented with what you have, when you're not living within your means and within the
mentorship for them, you continue to provide some forms of support to ensure that there is feedback. You don't just empower them and you leave them. You plant a seed, you ensure that the seed grows. You take off the weeds, you water the seed, you ensure that the seed is planted on the right soil. You don't just plant a seed and go to sleep, and you come the next day expecting to harvest from the seed. The government and all stakeholders must ensure that we've had so much of this empowerment. Most times, politicians capitalize on it for political purposes. We need a human face development that will harness these people that have been trained. What plans do we have? Do we have a blueprint? Can we train 500 women on snail farming, and the next 2 years they can also train 500 other women? The development should be there should be multiplicity of such programs. In other words, we should create more empowered people.
We have programs like this. We have them in mass. Ugochukwu, I'll bring you in here. We have a lot of empowerment programs that have been on in the past, that are still going on, and there are still plans to hold more. So we're talking about the effectivity. I know that George has mentioned some of the things that should be looked at and some of the things that should be stopped when you talk about these empowerments. But we're looking at how effective they've been and how they can be more effective.
When you talk about empowerment, the first thing that comes to the mind is what are the goals and the aims of those who institute the so-called empowerment. If you don't have an aim and objective, you will achieve nothing at the end of the day. We have one of the CSOs in Nigeria is talking about follow the money. You know, Nigeria don't have a database. No apologies to that. We don't have a way of documenting our agendas, our programs, to make sure there is a follow-up. And when you look at all these empowerments, it's politically motivated. That's why I find it so laughable to talk about them. Remember, in Nigeria, we have had is it Empower? We've had trader money, which was the most shameful aspect of empowerment I've seen all my life and all the places I've been in the world. That the second citizen of the country was carrying cash. You could remember when the chopper of former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo came down, because it was stashed with cash. It was going for money transfer, or what did they trader money, towards the tail end of campaigns of an election. We were at the eve of an election when a sitting vice president was going around the nation. What a shame. And at the end of the day, go and look at the people they say they empowered.
That's another thing that should be looked at. The people now. Are we empowering the right people?
We are not. That is what I'm saying, that it is when it is politically motivated. All these people you are seeing, before you empower somebody, an empowerment that is enduring, is an empowerment that is, you know, you have aims and objectives drawn out, just like George have said. You see how to follow it up. And you don't give monies handout to people that are hungry. How much you are giving to those women? And their families are hungry. They will dip their hands into the money.
So what should they be?
The hungry, and they feed the hungry families first.
So, but you stated that we're not empowering the right people.
We are not empowering the right people.
And that now you've said these people who are being empowered are hungry. So what is your definition of the right people? See,
if you look at people that were empowered, will they call an SSA to the governor to empower her? Will they call somebody that is a supervisor to empower them? They go to the rural women, and those women are those who have been privileged to have found favor in whoever is called upon by the government to fish out those people. We see in Nigeria that they say they transfer money to the most vulnerable. We have vulnerable people around us, even in my parish, as someone who participate in the clerical activities. I have people in my church.
So those
who are those people that they are empowering? Who are the vulnerable? So those vulnerable are people like when you go to the government sector, you see people they call ghost workers. Is it you and I and George that are creating the ghost workers? Who are those paying the ghost workers? So when they talk about vulnerable, why did they relieve? Is it Better Edu? Or what about
we're still trying to get who you're talking about when you say the right people now.
The right people should
are the vulnerable people.
Not even the vulnerable. Okay. Before you empower somebody for such a venture that you know that is going to snowball, is going to bring out what the society needs. You don't need to give it to people who cannot manage it. You don't need to give it on sentiment. Just like George said, the people you are going to give it, were they able to sustain it? Is it a measure of sustainability? And when the business is going down, is there a mechanism put in place that they can fall back on the government for another assistance? Or it is just a handout that, go, we have settled you. At the end of the day, you don't see the ripple effect. If you are opening a channel, and that channel is not meant to be sustainable and to bring about other people that will be trained, that will be gainfully trained. We are talking about, see, what baffles me in this country is this. People establish things like this particular governor of that state, last few weeks, called some youth and gave them handouts and said he has brought them into the vigilante group. That vigilante group, is there any retirement benefit in it? Is it something that you will do that will sustain people to the time that they can save money for their retirement age? Or you're not using it as a political jamboree? That is my problem.
Let me bring George in here, because George actually started that school of thought when you talk about sustaining it. Yes, I'd like to get your recommendations regarding that.
What I would say is that if you feed a man for a day, you will end up feeding him the next day, and you will create a dependency culture. What Nigerians need is not handouts. What Nigerians need is heads up. They need their head to be up. You have to first of all think about transforming their minds. Many Nigerians, when you bring empowerment projects like this and you share money for them, they see it as their own share of the national cake. And so with such mentality, most of them will not pay back the grants or the loans you give to them. It becomes difficult.
A monitoring mechanism.
Because they see that you have been in power. You've been having access to the national cake. And now you're giving them some peanuts. So they see it as their right. And then they eat up the money. So if you want to create a prosperous society, you have to first of all transform the minds of the people. And you can't transform the minds of the people if you as a leader, you are not transformed mentally. So empowerment for me does not start with the pockets. Empowerment for me starts with the mind. It is the mind that charges the pockets. So if we want to really build, as part of the solution, if we want to build a sustainable society where we can take out people from poverty, they have notes, and take them to the classes and schools they have. They must have to first of all work on their mindset and their mentality, transform their mind, and create a system, a structure. See, people are not someone that is attached to a politician or a political list of people that you want to empower, so that you can come paint a picture that you have empowered people.
I wonder how that can even be changed. Because the people who are in charge, a lot of times, the people who are supposed to make sure that these monies get to the right people are usually sometimes, reportedly, the people who would put the names of their relatives, you know, and loved ones, and say, just write, in case it's for farmers, they say, write fish farming, you write snail farming, you write piggery, and things like that. So how do we even get to stop that when the people who are in charge are allegedly the ones involved in this?
Honesty, the political will to make things right and to make the system work. You don't need a prophet. You don't need a telescope to see those people that are in need. If you walk the streets, you see some people that are going to...
I don't think they have a problem with identifying the right people.
I get you.
Yes.
Now, yes, they don't have a problem with identifying the right people that are vulnerable, but they know what they are doing, because they are trying to pursue their own political agenda.
Exactly. So how do we put a stop to that practice?
A political will to make things right.
Okay.
What they don't even realize is that if you work for the people, if you take out poverty, you have won yourself the admiration of the people. You can't buy love. If you can buy love, that means, you know, there will be no each crisis in the society.
Okay, let's talk about other measures that could be put in place to put a stop to this challenge I just mentioned, Ugochukwu.
You see, this challenge will be there unless the political class and the elites and those who call themselves stakeholders. You know, the name stakeholders in Nigeria are those who are privileged to be around the corridors of power, to know who in Nigeria. So, you know, when it was raining, I am in Nigeria, man no man. That is our being in Africa. And in Nigeria, it is like a syndrome. It is like a continuum in Nigeria that those people who are given in charge of those things, don't they have interest? Is the person who even want to give out the so-called empowerment, does he not have something in mind that he wants to gain at the end of the day? And those people you give it to, you have also created job for the boys, and they will not want to, you know, give out those things without reserving their own benefit. So hence they know that it will not be monitored, and the people from ab initio, it is not meant to lift people out of poverty. So when you have that mindset that you don't want even to do something that will be very reliant and something that will be sustainable and pull people out of where they are to where you want them to be. When there is no mindset from ab initio, how can you achieve a result? That's the problem.
Talking about pulling people from where they are to where you want them to be. Let's take this report on a devastating flood that has ravaged communities in Anambra State, displacing residents of over 600 houses, 5 local government areas: Anambra West, Anambra East, Ogbaru, Oka North, and Ayamelum and West Valley affected. And Miata Anam community in Anambra West local government area is among the worst hit areas. Residents, including children, wade through waters to access essential services. Roads, houses, markets, churches, schools, and public facilities are submerged. Residents resort to paddling or riding wooden canoes to reach their destinations. Farmer Neka actually recounted her ordeal when she talked about how the flood started just few days ago, and it's now everywhere. And most people have evacuated, but some farmers remain to secure their belongings. Now, this part of it is the problem. A lot of times when we hear about flooding, we hear the government say, leave those places. Move away from your houses, go to higher grounds. But now when you get to hear from the people and hear the reasons some of them still stay back, and staying back, a lot of times they get to lose their lives to these flood situations. How can we solve this problem? Because the big issue, if lives are being lost, then it has already gotten to the extreme. These people know that people are losing their lives around, but they stay back. And when you hear their reasons, you hear my livelihood, my farm, I need to secure it, my house, I need to secure it. These cases that have been on for a long time and still going on. What is your thought on this, George?
I always refer to Albert Einstein's definition of insanity. That doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a new result, is insanity. And I will continue to refer to that definition because that gives us a clear answer of why we continue to talk about flooding, devastating and destroying lives and properties in Nigeria. Recently in the United States of America, they faced a hurricane, Helen, they call it different names. Now, what lessons can we learn from their experience? One of the characteristics of bad leadership, or bad leaders, is that they fail to listen. We don't learn from past events or past incidences that have happened. We rather wait for the next flood to happen. When a particular flood incident or disaster breaks out, we should sit down and learn from it and prepare to prepare for the next one. We don't wait for the next flooding to prepare us, but rather we sit down and prepare for the next flooding. Because what stops the next one from happening if we are not doing anything now to reduce the loss of lives? It's easy to tell the people that you should move from your location to a higher ground. What provision have the government put in place for housing? Are there emergency
for
medical
the higher
response?
grounds?
The higher grounds, are they in the air? Can you find it? Can you find it? Where are the higher grounds? What are the infrastructure that have been put in place for these people? In this same program, once I talked about creating even mental health services, creating programs, emergency health response, training first responders, training and equipping them with the facilities, the ambulance, helicopter service, all these things. We can do it. We should learn from other countries. We emulate the United States of America. We copy their federalism and their democracy. We should also copy how they do things rightly. And of course, during natural disasters, a lot of lives will be lost, but you can minimize the loss of lives and properties.
Who do we hold responsible now? The federal or the state government, or the people who refuse to move out and remain there? I know, Deima, you want to say something about that, but let's bring Ugochukwu into the conversation.
You see, Jackson, I am so lukewarm speaking about these natural disasters in Nigeria. My reasons are this. When I was studying in Philippines, they have what they call typhoon, different names, depending on the person that quickly discovered it. Maybe as it's coming, they name it after those scientists that are able to figure it out. So they have makeshift houses in those typhoon-prone areas that at the end, when the typhoon comes, it destroys those makeshift houses. By then, the government has evacuated their people to the higher land. After the typhoon, the government quickly goes back, puts back the structures for the people, and they go back and continue their livelihood because they are area that has a very large water mass. Then, I give you an example, like my brother George has said. When I first traveled out of this country, I saw a lot of good things. I said, is it that our leaders go there, see all those things? They board the flight. Once they get to the airport, they leave all the ideas in the plane, and the Airbus carries it back to where they are coming from. I begin to wonder. We hear of one particular African president who went for ear surgery in one of the European countries and came back and called his Minister of Health to replicate that thing that took him out. Then we also, I have in good authority and information, when I was in Malaysia, Najib, the former president of Malaysia, told the US that in few years' time they will be queuing to look for a visa to Malaysia, and that is why the US did not assist them in looking for that MH70 that became a household name when it was missing. So these are countries that, you know, that copy what is right, like my brother have said. We copy people by making a lot of statements, bringing out white papers and all that. At the end of the day, you won't see it. Why am I saying all these things? We have a Governor Soludo in Anambra State, who is a technocrat, whom the people thought has come to, rewrite the narratives in Anambra State and make things happen. Ecological funds are there, or 13% oil derivations are there, allocations come in, and we also blame the Nigerian governments of the past that decided to do whatever they like with the monies that came from UNICEF or whatever international body that gave the monies in the 70s to build a collecting dam. That when Cameroon built their own, that at the end of the time, the Cameroonians will collect the water, and to get to a limit that they have to open up the dams. And Nigeria should build a dam that will collect the waters, knowing that we are a country that is surrounded by water, River Benue, and another major river is River Niger. And Anambra State, we are talking about, are living around the River Niger axis. And they know that those, as the world evolves, as the climate change continues to come up, we are going to have this disaster in our hands. And recall that in 2012, there was just a kind of the God, Nigerians like God a lot. And they decided to show them a little of what is coming. Since 2012, I don't want to go far. What concerted effort have Nigerian government made in making sure that this thing that we have known that is becoming a yearly occurrence? Even people in Bayelsa, people in River State, those river-prone, water-prone areas. Look at what happened in Borno State. So the blame should be on the government, not the federal now, because the state government received their own allocation of ecological funds. What are those funds meant for?
If the federal government have not been able to handle that all these years, then how come we expect the state government?
No, the state government can do something in their own right. We are a federating unit. The state government, the local governments can do something in their right to protect their people. Their people are their primary responsibility. And anything that will cause is a natural disaster. Yes, it will come. But you have to mitigate. That is what we call about the mitigation of where are the projections that NIMET gives, where are the NIMASA, and what they are waiting. If you read down, you'll find that they have started distributing palliatives. Nigeria has become a country where they give handouts, and people, what do you call it, the middlemen are also making their money. They allow those things to happen. In my own view, the government, the people that have the statutory responsibility to nip those things in the board or checkmate them, at least to the barest minimum, are only waiting for the time it will happen. And they will make their own gains from there.
That is what a lot of Nigerians believe.
But
George,
that is what it is.
Do you agree that people sit back and do not play the roles that they are supposed to, and expect these natural disasters to happen so that they can, gain some funds from it?
It depends on the intention of the people. Some people derive joy when there's unfortunate incidents like this, so that maybe based on their selfish interests, so that they can steal more money for themselves in the name of they're trying to respond to the natural disaster. It's quite unfortunate, but it shows you the kind of leadership that we have. That's why we need reformation. We need to raise leaders that have the fear of God, not just leaders that talk about God. There's a difference between leaders that talk about God and leaders that have the fear of God. The leaders that have the fear of God respect the human dignity, the dignity of life, the sanctity of life, the fact that the citizen of the country is valuable to the development of the country. And when a particular community is in crisis, it affects every one of us.
Because when we look at what happened in Borno State, after all the monies that were released from the federal government, from individuals, from groups, and all of those monies that were
become a political ground.
We then heard that the people of the state were protesting against hunger. And you're asking, the monies that were released, what exactly were they used to scoop the water away from the state if hunger was not taken care of?
You can force a horse to the stream, but you can't force the horse to drink. The money that has been released will be used by human beings. In this country, it has become like an animal farm by George Orwell. All animals are equal, but some are more equal than others.
No, we have humans in this country. But then I had to explain that, because we have people watching, and some people might not understand the aspect you're coming from. Yes.
Let me explain what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say, based on that novel, the novel is trying to state that some people have classified themselves more important than others. Now, I'm not trying to demonize anybody. I'm trying to use the novel to explain the situation.
So why does it look like hands are being folded, especially what has happened? When you saw the monies released, and then the people complained of hunger, protested actually.
Leadership, that's the key thing. It's a question of leadership. We don't have
the mindset.
Leaders, the kind of leaders we have. That's why I always talk about we brazen leaders that have the fear of God. First of all, you have to have the fear of God. We talk so much about God, but we don't have the fear of God. If you have the fear of God,
not everybody is Christian, you know that.
No, it doesn't mean whether you're a Christian or a Muslim.
No, not there are people that don't serve God at all.
Whether you serve
whether in any means or not, they do not.
Whether you believe in God, or you're an atheist, or you don't believe in God, you must respect human beings and human lives.
Okay.
You must love people and treat people with respect. If you love people and treat people with respect, you won't go and steal their money that is meant to alleviate them from a particular suffering. You don't even need to be a religious person. Just do the right thing. Look at the Western societies. Most of them don't have any religion. They don't have any religious attachments, but they do the right things.
All right, thank you so much, David.
Before you flip over, I want to quickly say that I don't know if you came across one video that circulated a few months ago. It was posted from one of our brothers in the US.
Okay.
Where a house was on fire in Nigeria, and people were praying because there was no access to the fire service, and people were praying. He said that look at what our nation has been reduced to. I don't want to call our leaders now. Have been reduced to that if a house is on fire, and people are praying to God to come and quench the fire.
When you talked about orientation earlier, when you talked about orientation earlier, I didn't fault it.
Yes.
Because there are lots of things that people should know about.
Yeah.
Some people don't even know what to do.
So
some people do not know who to call when there's a situation like that. They don't know who to call. They just know that they should call their neighbors to do something. But some people don't even know anything about any fire service. A lot of people don't have an idea about that.
And that is why in Rivers State, I've been advocating for a functional fire service station. I've been advocating for it in the past 3 months, both on television and on the radio. And the government have not heard my cry. But when you see these natural disasters, they are unexpected, but these ones are expected. I will not classify what happened in Anambra State now as a natural disaster. The only one I will classify as a natural disaster is the one that happened in Borno. The picture that was sent to Nigeria on 2012, the government of Anambra State would have done something. Okay, where do they want the people? Where are the hard lands that they want the people to go? Where are the places? Now they have created IDP camps. They have created emergency areas that people will stay. What are the facilities put in place? Is it a fire brigade approach we see in Nigeria? We are quick to copy other people, but we are not quick to learn the rudiments of what they are doing to move it to the really get it to the end.
Ogochukwu, thank you so much for your thoughts on that one. We'll go on a short break, and after that, we'll continue the show. Please stay with us.
people of Maiduguri need your help. A catastrophic flood has engulfed the city, leaving over 1 million residents stranded and fighting for survival. Entire communities are submerged, with people trapped inside homes and on rooftops cut off from food, clean drinking water and essential supplies. Health experts are warning of a potential outbreak of deadly diseases, and medical facilities are out of commission. The situation is dire. Helicopters, boats and high-riding trucks capable of navigating the treacherous, waterlogged areas are urgently required to reach the countless men, women and children still awaiting rescue. The Nigerian media is issuing a desperate plea to the government, humanitarian organizations, international actors and citizens across the nation. Step in now, before it's too late. For more information on how you can help, contact Professor Usman A. Tar, the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Internal Security, Borno State, on 0809-233-3955. Every second counts.
This is powered by Atlantic Television Network.
We appreciate you for staying right here with us. Let's move to our next story. A disturbing incident occurred in Aribisola Street in Igando, Lagos, where a woman named Fatima allegedly cut off her neighbor's Mitsura's tongue during a fight over a bucket while doing laundry. The dispute began when Fatima accused Mitsura of using her bucket without permission, leading to an argument and physical altercation. Fatima, in her early 30s, allegedly strangled Mitsura and beat off her tongue in the process. The landlady, Mama Ibadan, had earlier intervened to settle the fight, but the situation escalated after she left. Mitsura, an 18-year-old orphan who recently moved into the building, was rushed to the hospital after being rejected by 3 private hospitals. She was eventually admitted to Igando General Hospital. Neighbors described Mitsura as a vulnerable individual who had lost her parents and was living with friends due to accommodation challenges. After the incident, Fatima attempted to flee but was restrained by residents and later handed over to the police for prosecution. However, the police public relations officer Benjamin Ondain claimed he was not aware of the incident. The incident highlights the need for conflict resolution and community support to prevent such violent disputes. There are various aspects to this story, down from the violence down to the hospitals that rejected her. This happens a lot during emergency cases. So you have hospitals around you, and you rush this individual into the closest hospital, and then they reject you. You go to the next one, they reject you. You go to the third one. 3 hospitals rejected her before she was rushed to the general hospital. And imagine what could have happened, or what had happened in different other cases, previous cases, where we've had things like this happen. Should we say this is a misnomer? These are private hospitals. Would we say they have the right to accept or reject a patient, and they're not mandated to take up any patient they probably cannot handle? I'd like to get your thoughts on this, George.
Well, first of all, before talking about the hospitals rejecting the patient, I want to talk about the act of violence. My postgraduate studies on peace, conflict, and security, and my curiosity has driven me to research on why people are in a situation where, what drives people into violence, and what drives people into conflict, what drives people into such kind of uncontrolled actions that it escalates to this particular unfortunate incident that someone bit off the tongue.
Imagine how that even happened.
That's
because the tongue is in the mouth. I mean, imagine what sort of violence could have caused.
She must have pulled the tongue out and bit it off. You know, when you are angry, anger is poisonous. If you read the book, Why Act the Way You Do, that talks about temperament, we all have different temperaments. Your temperament is not a disorder. Your temperament can be your strength. It can also be your weakness.
If you can manage it.
It all depends on you. Some people are choleric. A little thing, they are offended. Even by just saying something carelessly to them, they will pick offense. And anger is like fire. It can burn you. It can destroy your relationship. It can destroy you. You will not realize it at that point. It is when you have inflicted harm and pain. That's when you realize, oh, I just killed someone.
Like when she was about to run.
Yes. Then, then the cobwebs have just cleared from her eyes, that she have just bit off the tongue of someone. So my message to those that are listening, to everyone listening, please control your anger. Don't let your anger control you. Anger can burn you. Anger can destroy you. Anger can ruin your relationship. In conflict resolution, one of the ways of preventing conflicts is avoidance. You can walk away from the scene. Walking away does not mean you are weak or stupid.
That's what some people feel. When they walk away, it means they're weak, they're scared, they have fear.
That's because that's a misinformation. Walking away shows you're strong. You don't fight every battle. You don't need to show that you are strong enough by fighting everybody. It shows that you are insane. The reality is that we need to deal with anger issues to prevent more people losing their tongue, losing their life, losing their eyes, losing their ears, right? Now, in this particular case, the victim was rushed to hospitals, and most of the hospitals rejected her. Unfortunate, very unfortunate. We need to save lives. We can't be rejecting people. Well, they must have rejected her. Maybe they don't have the facility to treat her or the equipment to treat her. So I cannot conclude why they rejected this patient or this victim. What I can say is that we need to look at our society. There's too many angry people.
I want to look at it from this front. This is really sad. It is saddening to see that people live in toxic environment. I don't want to go through the whole hog of what my brother Judge have said about anger management and conflict resolution, because if you read the story, you could play around your mind and see the class of people or their own understanding and exposure of where this particular incident happened, the mentality of the people involved. So in as much as I don't want to rule out what he said, but in this right, you'll find out that these people are not of that sound mind. Even some of us that are lettered, some of us that have even psychologists themselves, you could see a marriage counselor who is even filing for a divorce. You could even see a marriage counselor who beats the wife or batters the woman in that case, has disregard for the husband. But if you come to the office, they will coach you how to manage your own home. So these are the... And
it's working for people.
These are the
their clients are having results, so you can't even take that away from them.
God bless you. So these are the flips of life.
But let's go to the hospital aspect now.
No, let me, because why I want to bring this is that where this particular orientation will be solely available is in the churches, in the mosques, it falls on the purview of the National Orientation Agency, which has branches in the states and local governments. Go to some local governments, they are just redundant. So hence people cannot acquire the formal education, this kind of education my brother is talking about, knowing your temperament, knowing where you belong in the society and all that. But who are in charge of a given crowd, who controls the people, whom the people can listen to, going to the community heads, the traditional rulers and all that, and pass on this message of anger, excessive anger, living in toxic environment, and accumulation of excessive anger. You see what I don't like? What I teach in my own right is don't live in tolerance. Try to understand people. You see, tolerance gets to a point that it snowballs. Because it is somebody who tolerates that we say, the other day you did me this, last week you did this, even last year, you did this. Is the person that is now piling it to get to a boiling point. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, Ms. Jackson. So, but if you live with people around and you begin to understand their different behaviors and characteristics, you won't bother yourself. Begin to pile up an anger that will get to this boiling point that you beat somebody stung or out. But in the hospital rejection, George has said it all. That's what I had in mind, instead of overflogging it. Those hospitals don't have the equipment. It's not that they don't want to receive.
Now,
that's what I want to say in my mind.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Those hospitals, that's where I wanted us to point out, because it's important. We've had so many cases of people losing their lives because they were rushed to a nearby hospital and they were rejected. Sometimes they direct you to the teaching hospital, and before you get there, a lot would have happened. right?
Even
so
in
let's
the teaching
talk
hospital,
about
some of the specialists that handle them are not around. They're in their own private facilities.
other times when they come in, they are not even attended to. We hear cases like that. But let's talk about these hospitals that are on, or some of these private hospitals that do not have the basic. They don't have the basic equipments that are even needed for emergency cases like this.
Let me just come in. I'm not cutting it short, but let me tell you that in Nigeria is a kind of stereotyped situation we find ourselves.
What do you mean?
If you're establishing a business, you also think about where you're siting it, the location. A small business, or what you want to do for your just to get your 100 naira, 500 naira gain at the end of the day, and you're happy with it. You site it within a given locality. So those hospitals, and given the scenario of where this thing happened, I'm just imagining in my mind, you could also envisage the type of hospitals will be around because of the peculiar needs of the people. Because this tongue issue, we don't hear it every time. So it has to be a case that will be treated in a tertiary institutional hospital. So you don't blame the hospitals for rejecting, but it also calls for concerted effort for the government to look into how to upgrade our hospitals, especially to equip them for all kinds of first aid emergency in all situations. The government has to give
equip private hospitals?
No, I mean giving them lifeline, giving them subventions, making sure. Let me give you an example. I was listening to a program last 2 days. Someone that was speaking from the UK or US was saying that why those hospitals, they are functional, that individuals can build hospitals and equip them. They didn't build them because they want to run the hospital. You can even have this within the confines of your building. But what they do is that when those other hospitals are choked, or when there is an emergency that the facility I have in my apartment can really take care of, they now do a referral and send medical doctors there to have the environment to treat such people.
This would also call the attention of the government.
That's what I'm saying.
To the primary healthcare centers.
Even not only of them.
Hold on, please. So the primary healthcare centers, these are supposed to be the healthcare centers that are closer to the people.
Yes.
So before anybody says, oh, go to the tertiary healthcare center, they should have been able to rush down to the primary healthcare center. But that's even in places when they even have these primary healthcare centers. Some of these communities, you would find out that they don't even have primary healthcare centers in those places. So you wonder how they handle health emergencies in these places. And they would resort to roots and herbs. And then you hear the experts who still come out and say, oh, these roots and these herbs have certain effects on your health and all of that. So what really are the people expected to do in such cases like this? Okay, let's talk about the Ogun State Police Command now. We have reports that the Ogun State Police Command has arrested a 7-man gang responsible for terrorizing travelers along the Sagamu-Ijebu-Ode Expressway. The gang, led by Aziz Abolaji Alese, kidnapped 7 people between May and September 2024. At a press briefing, Commissioner of Police Abiodun Alamutu revealed that the gang's leader, Alese, was previously arrested in 2016 and 2022 for kidnapping, but continued his criminal activities after release on bail. The arrested suspects include Alese Onokrese Jacob, Henry Jaga, and Emmanuel, Joseph Udoma, Abiola Oduyemi, Abe Emmanuel, and Jimo Karim. Their kidnapping spree began on May 16, 2024 with the adoption of Busari Abiola, followed by Adebayo Olabisi, and a whole lot of others that were mentioned. We even talked about a nurse from Babcock University. Police investigation led to recovery of exhibits, including Browning Pistol, 2 vehicles, school and lunch bags, and a Babcock University key holder. Alamutu praised his team's efforts and urged residents to remain vigilant, supporting the command in ensuring safety across the state. Some of these gangs and how long they have, been sustained, how they keep thriving, and then they keep carrying out, criminal activities against the people of the residents of that state or the community. And you hear that they were arrested, released on bail, and they continued, arrested again, released on bail, and they continued. And after the release, lives are being affected at the end of the day. I would like to get your thoughts on this, George.
Well, first of all, I commend the State Police Command for arresting the criminals because they are constituting a threat to the lives of people. The kidnapping cases it's a very disturbing situation. Many Nigerians are living in fear because they are not sure of their safety. So we must commend the police command for arresting these criminals that have constituted a nuisance to the society. And I would also like to say that it is very difficult to take the chameleon. A chameleon will always be a chameleon.
The color out.
The chameleon will always be a chameleon. Simply because you take a dog to the moon does not change the dog. It will always bark like a dog. If it barks like a dog, it's a dog. If it runs like a cat, it's a cat. If it swims like a fish, it's a fish. If it's acting like a criminal, it's a criminal. So how do you deal with such criminality? You need to look at the society. The broader question for us as a society is the fact that our society is embracing materialism, and many young people have missed it. What they see is that they just want to live the big boy kind of life. In economics, there's a term, meeting up with the Joneses. They want to live that kind of flashy, flamboyant lifestyle. They just want to drive big cars and spray money, during occasions, and describe themselves as odogus and all kind of titles. So these people who are involved in kidnapping, the question is, what drives them into kidnapping? What will stop the next kidnappers from kidnapping innocent Nigerians? What mechanism have we put in place to ensure that the next kidnap attempt is disrupted? So it involves the police, the intelligence community, families, religious institutions, every one of us. Nobody is born today and then he just tells him, and when you ask him, what do you want to become in life? He says he wants to become a kidnapper. It's difficult for you to hear that. But people end up in all these vices and all these negative attitude and actions because in one way or the other, they have been conditioned to such kind of lifestyle. There is no excuse for kidnapping. Yes, the economic situation is bad, things are tough, life is difficult. But there are many young people that are on the streets, that are hawking, that are selling, that are working hard to make ends meet, to put food on their table.
And it's their daily bread.
So what excuse do you have to kidnap someone? Now, from the reports, we heard that some of them were released and they are back on the streets. When they were in prison, was there a program put in place to reform them? If you look at prisons in the Western societies, in the United States, in Europe and all that, the prison system is not just to keep criminals away from the society. The prison system is an institution to transform and reform those people so that when they come out of prisons, they become useful to the society. They contribute to the development of the society. Some of them even study while in prison. But in our own prison system, if you visit some of our prison, it's a sorry state. Some of them go into prisons, they come out of prison, they become more hardened. It's like an egg. When you boil the egg, this one, they become hardened. The phrase or the term, hardened criminals. From the prison system, instead of reforming them, you see a prison that's supposed to accommodate 50 persons, accommodating 200 persons. And you see the prison congested. You see the kind of dehumanizing situation in prison. What do you expect? Are we reforming this?
So you feel like that contributed to them going back to the crime after being released on bail?
Exactly.
Let's bring you into this conversation.
Just a quick one, because in as much as I believe that no society is totally free of crime, no matter the kind of crime, be it financial crime, be it armed robbery or whatnot. But I want to quickly remind my brother George that most children of these days, especially in Rivers State, I hear that when you ask a child, what do I want to be? So I want to be a senior man.
What does that mean, please?
Senior man is all these our brothers that are gangsters and those who are non-state actors within a given circle. you know, when they come out, you address them as senior man.
But
so
that means these children have the wrong ideology.
Yeah, the children have the wrong ideology. So
they don't even know what these senior men do.
Everybody respects those people. You know, everybody's afraid of them, worshiping them. Don't go there. Don't go. Even ladies try to, you know, hibernate around them for the purpose of using them to intimidate people who harass them and all that. You now see children of primary school age saying, if you ask them what they want, they say, I want to be a senior man.
This is another issue, exposing the children to the kind of individuals, wrong role
models. So that is what we have in our hands. Like you had Olusegun Obasanjo saying last week that the type of children and what is happening in the northern Nigeria is a time bomb, is a breeding ground for Boko Haram.
That's for the out-of-school children.
Yes, out-of-school children. How are we, as a society, you know, planning to take these children out of the street? So you find out that the likes of Aziz or whatever is still in the making. So I blame it on the loss of societal value, on the loss of religious value, because if you go to them, either they go to the church or they go to the mosque. Now you see them going there, and our society has prioritized affluence without genuine means of income, without a noticeable and traceable means of your livelihood. But they celebrate whatever they see that is affluent, just like George have said. That is our bane. But in as much as I want to talk about this, I want to say that you recall the Super Cup that became a valiant in Nigeria in the person of Abba Kyari, and the way he was tracking criminals with his specially modified gadgets of, you know, trying to trace their location and all that. You remember that his tactical team were ambushed by the military to release one hardened kidnapper, I think Wale or something. And after that, have you heard anything about that case? Have you heard the case about the people? Information that they were given, they were being sponsored. If you have been following the story of those people who are headers, who always carry AK-47, if you have been following the conflict between the headers and farmers, you find out that those boys are not the people who are buying those guns. They are being guarded and sponsored by the big men that have those cows. It's a very big business. Cow rearing is a very huge business that these not
some of those boys may not be able to afford.
They are not even the owners of the cow, not to talk of the gun. They are giving the gun to protect whoever is coming to harass them about it. So what are we talking about in the society?
Right.
So we have a whole lot of problems in our hands. It is not only this.
George, while you were explaining, did you get to talk about what the government can do here, or what actually? You talked about the correctional centers, you know, looking into our correctional centers and actually making it a rehabilitation center, giving them the orientation and education that they need. Let's go to the FCT. The Federal Capital Territory Administration has awarded a whopping 9.8 billion naira contract to Julius Berger PLC for the rehabilitation of existing link roads and facilities at the presidential wing of Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. This contract was approved during the 9th Executive Council meeting held at the FCT Secretariat in Abuja, with a completion deadline of 6 months. According to Shehu Ahmad, Executive Secretary of the Federal Capital Development Authority, the contract covers rehabilitation of the link road, access road to the presidential kitchen, hangar housing, the presidential aircraft, and the holding center for visiting presidents. The contractor, Julius Berger, had previously managed the facility, so they are familiar with the terrain. LCTA also launched the health initiative, Project 10 Million, aimed at screening over 250,000 residents for hypertension and diabetes. This free screening exercise is part of a nationwide campaign to tackle non-communicable diseases in Nigeria. Other approved contracts were also mentioned in the story. What would you say about this development in the FCT? Let's bring Ugochukwu in first on this one.
I'm not impressed with whatever development they want to carry out.
Tell us why.
Because the Nigerians are hungry. Nigerians will not remain perpetually. When you see beautiful edifices in the church spending billions and some infrastructures, billions are spent, people don't sleep there. It does not provide food. It does not provide work. What does it take from the government to begin to attract industries and build something? What I believe in development, and if you say you care for the people, you feel our pulse, is go into industrialization that grants people retirement benefits. That's all. But what they are doing there, those cosmetics development that does not tell in the life of an average Nigerian,
okay,
I have nothing to do with it.
Yes, George.
Well, I will disagree a little bit with my learned colleague. I think the government can do the both. They can provide the infrastructure, and they can also attend to the poverty alleviation and the hunger crisis in the country. The bone of contention is maintenance. We have poor maintenance culture in Nigeria. You see a lot of projects, multi-billion-dollar projects, left to rot and waste. The pathetic situation, and what breaks my heart, is that when you visit some of these politicians, they are beginning to appear. No maintenance. Look at schools. I can give a lot of examples. You see schools that they were constructed and built with money from taxpayers' money. And then at the end of the day, you will see grasses. I was passing on the road one day and I saw a particular public school, a very huge complex. The fence, this barbed wire fence, grasses have covered the fence. And that same school, teachers are walking into the school, students are going into the school. There are people just living their life like they don't care about it. Grasses have covered the entire fence, and they've left it like that, and they're not bothered. They are not concerned. This is a psychiatric thing. This is a psychological problem. It's a mental health issue. This poor maintenance culture is a mental health issue. And as Nigerians, we must deal with it.
It's also important that we talk about, when we talk about some of this maintenance of public facilities, both the government and both the people. Now, you said the people were going in, living their lives like they don't care. It might interest you to know that they may have written concerning that. They may have written concerning some of these facilities, but they don't get the response that is needed. And the funds that are needed sometimes, reportedly, are not provided.
Ms. Jackson,
yes,
if I can come in,
quickly.
Let me just say this. Despite the fact that we have we lack maintenance culture in Nigeria, but most of these multinationals have been concessioned. If you travel to some of the European countries or the developed countries of the world, government has no business maintaining roads and those facilities. They concession it. The Julius Berger has been in existence for God knows how long. But the only thing you do, you give them a contract that allows them to maintain it and collect their money instrumentally like that. So they know. That is why I didn't want to go into the government knows how it works. But because we are a nation that likes waste, we're a nation that we have accepted that we don't want to grow. And people want to play the hanky-panky of it, of getting their hands soiled when those contracts are. If you give it to Julius Berger to maintain, look at what he said, that Julius Berger constructed it and knows the terrain. Why not give concession to Julius Berger, maintain it for 50 years? Maintain this place for 100 years. And government don't have time to come and make a new budget of allocating and trying to do a new one. They only continue what Umahi did in Ebonyi State. Before 5 years, go there now, you not see
some of these issues that we have mentioned are some of the reasons Nigerians came out to protest. That's the End Bad Governance protest. And then there have been reports concerning this, especially yesterday with the children who were fainting in the court. A lot of Nigerians have talked about it. We've had Sarah mention, had their own say. Atiku Abubakar has had his own say, and Twitter people, like I like to call them, they have had their own say. And then the federal government too has had something to say about that. Well, a federal high court in Abuja has granted bail to 76 #EndBad Governance protesters, with each defendant required to pay 10 million naira and provide 2 sureties. The sureties must meet specific criteria. One must be a level 15 civil servant with a verifiable address within the court's jurisdiction, while the other must be a parent of the protester concerned. The protesters, including 32 minors, were arrested in various cities for participating in the August 2024 demonstrations. They faced charges such as conspiracy to commit treason and incitement to mutiny for urging the military to remove President Bola Tinubu. During the court proceedings, 4 defendants collapsed and were assisted out of the courtroom. The court subsequently discharged them pending their recovery, but did not acquit them. The case has been adjourned to January 24 for substantive hearing. But then we hear of the FG coming out to say is it the Minister of Justice, now if I get that story right, coming out to say, oh, bring their case files to my office, let's handle it quickly. Yes, that's a new development to this particular story. And another development is the federal government coming out to say, hey, these people were not minors. These are people who have gone to school. Some of them are husbands.
But we saw them
some
in
of
the
them are
videos.
married. That's what we're told. That some of them are married. That some of the children that we saw in the videos are children who came to see their loved ones in courts. So, let's bring you in on this story first off. But please focus on what we've talked about. That's the bail that they have been granted, the sureties that have been, that's a provision for bail and all of that, 10 million naira.
Before I talk about the bail, I want to say that Socrates, the philosopher, said the unexamined life is not worth living by any human being. This situation with the children that we are arraigned in courts and who have been living in quite a dehumanizing situation is a call for us to examine ourselves. These children, they are called adults or they are called teenagers. We can see them with our eyes. We can see videos that when they were arraigned in courts, some of them crying, they looked malnourished. This is an opportunity for the government for national reconciliation. Now, the bail condition is 10 million naira for these children. You don't need a prophet or you don't need a satellite to see that they're in poor conditions. How can they raise 10 million naira for their bail? The question why they were arrested was because they were protesting. They were protesting because of the worsening poverty and economic situation in the country. Irrespective of the fact that they were making some calls that were not favorable with the government, this is an opportunity for the president to call the children. If I were the president, I would invite the children to the State House and interact with them and have a conversation with them.
Now, the part that the government is really coming in and the court is really holding strong is the part where the Russian flags were raised. And that's the treason that they have been accused of.
Is it not in the same country that some bandits capture villages and raise their flags? I am not excusing the behavior of the children, but something led to that action. There is frustration, there is aggression, there is despair, there is hopelessness, there is a disconnect between the leaders and the masses. That's why I said if I were the president, the first thing I would do is that I would invite the children to the State House and interact. They are children, for goodness sake. Now they can be conditioned to, see, these children can be an asset to this country. If we don't pay attention to them, if we lose them.
My imagination, how Boko Haram militants, when they are captured, the military will say that they have de-radicalized them. They will sew uniform for them. They will send them to rehabilitation centers and give them monies. And these are, as a person, it has also alluded to what my brother George said about the conditions of the Nigerian so-called correctional centers. People are not eating. How many months have they been? and they should have been kept in a special facility because they are not criminals, they are not armed robbers. So the Nigerian correctional facility, hence they have a special place they gave Bobrisky. They said that they have special places for people. Why did they deny those, my brothers, and those who protested for the national cohesion and for the betterment of Nigeria, to be kept them in a such dehumanizing condition? They lack access to basic facilities, they lack access to medication, when they are not yet been convicted. That is why most Nigerians will even prefer to become prisoners abroad than to be free citizens in Nigeria, because there after 2 years you get yourself something doing. It was also in this country that during the start of the Ukrainian Russian invasion, Nigerians volunteered to go to Ukraine, because I saw on the international television where soldiers are being cared for. Medical doctors were taking care of soldiers. They were being fed well. We all saw it on national television, or those who watch in internet. So for me, this kind of bare conditions they give them is laughable. It's very serious. That means the government is not ready, or I'm just seeing it as a way that the government wants to instill fear and gag the Nigerian public and quieting the youth, and I'll say that it is an end for us. This is our death end. Do this and you get this. So for them to put out such bare conditions, my dear, it is as good as the Nigerian state has told us that we don't have right to voice out our concerns.
This is very pathetic, as discourage a lot of people from coming out to voice out their concerns, like you have put it. But as much as we'd like to continue this conversation, because there's so much more to talk about, time's no longer on our side, and this is where we get to wrap it up on this episode of Atlantic Saturday. I must thank you, George Emmanuel, for joining us today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Gochuku, Ifeanyi, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nigerians, and Happy New Month.
All right, Happy New Month to you too. Thank you for being part of it. Remember to stay connected with us on all of our ATN socials, Facebook and YouTube, we are Atlantic Television Network, Instagram, TikTok, we are Atlantic TV Network 1, X, you can call us Atlantic TV Net. Watch us live on our website at www.atlanticnetwork.tv. Peace, unity, and pastor, so progress. Thank you once again for watching. My name is Eni Doye Jackson.